everyone always asks me, like, it was like most fun 4 years of my life, like,
Yeah.
and you can take from that what you want, but like it was good, man. Like I enjoyed like obviously the college lifestyle and you know going out and stuff and kind of the whole stuff that you like see in the movies. You know, like all it's kind of the same that you see in the movies. You know, like all the partying and stuff, but at the same time, like the level of like soccer and like being in the Pac-12, which is like probably one of the biggest conferences, and then being at a Div 1 school, it was just like the facilities and like the training and like the level of support and everything you get as like a college athlete was like is insane.
Yes, sir. I'm your host, Leroy, and welcome back to The Insight. But before we start, could you make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for any new content that will be coming your way very soon. But without further ado, enjoy the pod. Let's get it started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Insight. We've got none other than the one and only Will Seymore. How you doing, bro?
I'm living, bro. I'm living. How you doing, man?
I'm all blessed, man. Can't complain. What you been up to?
Not much, man. Just grinding through preseason right now. I'm finishing classes too, and just playing PlayStation. Really, that's my life right now in this pandemic. So
What class are you taking?
I'm finishing my kinesiology degree when I was at Oregon State, but I'm just taking a bunch of like kinesiology classes, like anatomy, biology stuff. Kind of. I should be finished in like I think end of spring or summer, but I just thought like with the pandemic going on, I got nothing else to do, so might as well get that done.
Oh, fair play. So you didn't graduate or like
No, no. So when because when I got drafted, that was
15?
2014 or 15, and I still had a couple terms left, so I left about halfway through my senior year.
Oh, okay. Makes sense, makes sense. But yeah, let's wheel it all back. Bro, can't lie, yeah. Are you friends with like Lance and like Michael Lahoud, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I saw your journey, yeah, and I was like, hold on, is he from America or is he from England? Because I see he was in England, but then he's in America. Like, so like talk to me how it all begun.
Yeah, yeah, bro. I mean, like you said there, bro. Like that's kind of like the story of my life, like going back and forth between like England and America, because my dad's American and my mom is from Colchester. So like I was born in Colorado, but I didn't really live there because my dad was in the military. So that's the reason we kind of went back and forth. But yeah, when I first was born, I lived in Colchester in England for about 4 or 5 years, and that's kind of where I grew up, like young life. And then I came over to the States. We lived in Maryland for about probably I'd say 7, 8 years, and that was like middle school. And then I went back to England for like secondary school and stuff, and then came back to the States when I started university. That was 2011. So it's just been kind of like back and forth. But I mean, like soccer wise, it was just when I lived in England, like growing up there, obviously everybody plays. It was just playing at the park and stuff like that. And then when I came back to the States, it was like at that time, early 2000s, soccer it wasn't what it was now, so it was just kind of playing like club and more playing with friends and not really, that's when they still had I don't know if they have it now. It used to be called like ODP and like Olympic development program and stuff. And it was more like just doing like soccer camps and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like getting the best of both worlds between England and America kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because I was thinking, because obviously you're back and forth, you would have got like different ends of the spectrum in terms of like football. So, um, how was it like playing football here when you're younger? Like you said, you grew up in Colchester. So who were you playing for, like when you started up?
Yeah. So when I was real young, it was just kind of like the local team. Like so I would live with my grandma. She lived in Housestead. It's about 20 minutes outside of Colchester, and it was just like kind of school, and that was like youth just stuff. And then when I moved back to the States and we lived in Maryland, so like every summer I would come back to England with my mom just to visit like my English family and stuff. So every time I would come over, I would be at some sort of like soccer camp in the summer, and usually it would be like Culture United's like kind of like ID camp every summer, and I wouldn't really stay long enough to, you know, I would just kind of come for summer and like kick around with my friends and maybe play like in a couple games and then go to this kind of summer camp, and then I'd come back to the States and I'd be playing like club soccer and stuff. And then it was 2000, it was about 2006 or 7 or something like that when they actually offered me. I went to one of the summer camps and they offered me a place at the academy, and that's when like we moved. Like I moved back to my grandma's, and my parents stayed in the States for a little bit. So it was just kind of like bouncing around academies, like culture center and stuff, and then playing for like the local team, house to town stuff. So it was real like low level, like grassroots stuff. But yeah, it was kind of like when I lived in my grandma's, it was just kind of me for a little bit. So that's all I was doing. It was just kind of going out and kicking the ball around and that kind of stuff. So
That's sweet. How was your experience at Colchester?
yeah, it was good. It was, it was pretty short, to be honest with you, because it was, I think probably at the time, when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a spot kind of in the academy. But I think it was more of the fact that I'd probably been to the summer camp so much, and I had done all right and stuff, and they probably were like, all right, let's give them a chance. So it was only for probably about half a year, and then at the end of that half year, they just kind of like moved me on, let me go, and then my parents kind of came over because my dad found a job in Cambridgeshire, one of the air bases and stuff. So that's when we moved up there, and then I got a place at like Cambridge United's academy and like development squad and stuff like that, and then that's really like the level like them and like Histon. I got a trial at Northampton and stuff, but just kind of like bouncing around, and then just kind of like non-league stuff. But like it was all right. Like at Colchester, it was just, like I said, it was just kind of quick thing, like nothing serious. I don't think really.
Yeah, true. So then obviously you transitioned to go back to America and go to Oregon State. Like, how did that come about? Why back to America to the college system? Why did you not like maybe try and stay here, kind of thing?
Oh man, I mean, it's kind of like in that question there, like it was probably because like I think I was in sixth form over here, and I had been doing like okay, like I was getting like regular county call ups, and like I was at Cambridge United and they'd let me go, but I was playing a decent enough level like non-league where, you know, it was like, you could kind of, if you did well enough, you could move up maybe to like, conference and stuff, and or I think it was Blue Square Conference it was called at the time, and then kind of go higher and stuff. But so I was kind of in that period where I was like, all right, like, do I want to continue doing this, or do I just want to kind of go to school and kind of. So I was at this like weird point where I was like, all right, I'm not really sure what I want to do, and it's actually my best friend. He played football too, and he played striker and stuff, and he went over to the States on a scholarship at a Division II school in Colorado.
Okay.
And he went, I think he went the year before me. So, and he's always telling me about, oh, it's sick over here and this and that. And like, it's weird because being from America, I should have known what it was like, but I didn't really grow up like I wasn't old enough to really know what college was like. So I just went through like this company that he went through where they kind of set up like trials and stuff, and you kind of go over to Lillishall and then just play a bunch of games, and then college coaches come and watch. And I just went through that, and then just had a lot of interest. Like I did pretty well on the day. I think I scored a couple goals. Like just kind of went out and just didn't really, I wouldn't say not to take it seriously, but I just kind of like just go have fun and see what comes of it. And then had some like interest from colleges and stuff. And then Oregon State, the head coach there, Steve Simmons, he kind of went the extra mile, and he kind of like met my family, and then kind of came to watch me play like a bunch of non-league games and stuff, which I don't think he was like kind of ready for coming from American soccer. But like, and then I just grew closest to him, and I'd never been to Oregon before. I'd always lived East Coast, and that's kind of like really how it came about. And then I went out there in, I think it was spring 2011, I think. So.
Whoa. So which company did you use? I think we might have used the same one,
It was called Pass for Soccer.
Yeah. Who helped you out, or it
was Daniel Gray. I don't know if he works there anymore. Yeah. But no, he because that's who my buddy said, and then he gave me his number, and we were talking and stuff. And I mean, he was, at the time, like he was great. He really explained a lot of stuff, and like the company, I think, they still have quite a few, obviously, guys going over there and stuff. But it was good. It was just something new, and I thought, I had the conversations with my dad, and he said, the biggest thing is that, you can still go and do all this stuff in college and play soccer, but then, you get a chance to get a degree and stuff too. So
No, for sure. So obviously now you've transitioned to Oregon. How was your experience? Obviously, one, you've lived kind of your whole life, maybe in like England and kind of bounced around, but you knew maybe England more. I don't know. So how was your experience now you've gone to Oregon and now you're living, I guess, the American college life?
oh man, like I loved it, man. Like those 4 years of work, like you feel me? Like everyone always asks me, like it was like most fun 4 years of my life. Like,
Yeah.
and you can take that what you want, but like it was good, man. Like I enjoyed like obviously the college lifestyle and you know going out and stuff and kind of the whole stuff that you like see in the movies. Like all it's kind of the same that you see in the movies, like all the partying and stuff. But at the same time, like the level of like soccer and like being in the Pac-12, which is like probably one of the biggest conferences, and then being at a Div 1 school, it was just like the facilities and like the training and like the level of support and everything you get as like a college athlete is insane. So like for me, like experience like all around like was great. I think the only thing that I probably would have tried to do is maybe like finish my degree before I left. But other than that, like it was like, I enjoyed like the football and obviously like the lifestyle and stuff. And it was, I met a lot of good people and like, a lot of good friends. But yeah, I mean, anytime anyone from like back in England asked me like, oh, I always thought this is the best 4 years of my life, there's no pressure, no, like none of that. It was just go and live.
Nothing. Who's in the Pac-12? I'm trying to think.
It was so it's Oregon State, Cal, UCLA, San Diego State, UW, and there's one more.
Is it
Who am I
Seattle?
missing? No, they might be in it now. I'm not sure. Oregon State, UW, San Diego State, UCLA, Cal. I swear there was one more. I thought there was six, but maybe there's only five. It was like a small conference, but it was good because those 4 years we were there, like every team, maybe like so the first 2 or 3 years, like Oregon State, we didn't do that well, but like that conference, every team was like top 20.
Yeah.
So even if you lost, it was like work in your favor for strength of schedule because it was just a really strong conference. Like, at the time, I think it was between them and like the ACC with like Maryland, North Carolina and stuff for the two best conferences. But yeah, honestly, I haven't really checked up that much. I don't know if they've added any more because obviously it's like a small conference. But yeah, like every game was a tough game and got to play against some like, really good players that are, still playing pro today too. So
Yeah, you mentioned strength and schedule for the people that may not understand like what that is. Like how long did it take you to know the college system? Because I think I gathered it in my senior year, but then it's too late. But like, how long did it take you to gather all the information?
yeah, like I mean, I probably was the same as you. Like I didn't really like truly understand like until like I was like kind of close to leaving. Like because like we would have meetings and stuff, and we would like so like strength of schedule is obviously like if you play someone who's a really like top 25 or a ranked team, that it looks better for you and then you're going to make the tournament at the end. Say if you play 10 teams and they're all unranked and you win, but you play like 10 teams and they're all top five and you lose, you have a better chance to make the tournament if you lose all the games against like a top ranked team. And like getting my head around that was weird because obviously if you go out to play a game of football, like you want to win. You just it's it. It doesn't matter who it's who, like you want to win. And like it was just, we'd have some games and we'd lose against like like I think at the time UCLA my sophomore year were number one in the country. They had guys like Kellen Rowe, Andy Rose, just like big time guys, and like we would lose to them 1-0 at home, and like we'd have meetings and like assistant coaches and coaches would be like, boys, not bad for a result for us. Like it's gonna work in the long run, and it'd be like I didn't really understand of like okay why don't we win? Because obviously you can't tie because it goes to like count like overtime or whatever. Yeah, no, it's weird. It's definitely strange. Like you said, getting used to that college kind of schedule and how they play and stuff. But no, it was something that you just kind of at the end you just kind of went out and just played and tried to get the win anyway.
True. What was some of the like differences in like living that you had to get used to, like when you went to college?
like compared to like England and stuff. Living like see, like when I was in Corvallis, because it's like a small college town, it might have been like it was a bit of a bubble, you know. It might have been not been the same of living in like a big city where college was, but um, like you know, just getting used to like living on your own and like living with roommates and you know, kind of figuring out like yourself in terms of like you know, cleanliness and if you don't like guys that aren't clean or how you like stuff and so it was more about like finding out like what you're like and your standards but I mean like living wise it was I don't know it's just different you know like the college like lifestyle of just kind of going around campus and like hanging out and you know it's just like it's almost like I wouldn't say it was like a party all the time but when you're going around campus it was just a bubble you know there's no like fears there was nothing could go wrong you know everything was like peachy every day you know like it was mad but like yeah nothing I wouldn't say there was anything like too crazy about like learning how to like you know difference of lifestyle but it's just a bit more carefree you know college life so
Yeah, true. How were your parties? Was it a lot of like house parties, or like did you guys have like clubs there, or well, not clubs, but
yeah
bars?
it's a bit yeah it was yeah, I think it was like an age thing you know like so when you were like but at the same time like coming from England you know like when you're like 18 you know you're going out in England properly so like you're coming over to the States and then like being like what do you mean you can't go out like I'm 18 like you know what I mean or you're not allowed to drink at 21 kind of thing but nah like you know when you're before 21 it was more like frat parties and house parties and dorm parties and stuff like that. And then once you turned 21, you didn't go to that stuff anymore. You just went to the clubs and bars because it was like that's just kind of what you did. But yeah, it was a good mix of both. I mean, like Corvallis, like I said, small place, but there was like one street that had all the bars and clubs and stuff. And then usually if you walked around campus, like because Greek life was pretty big there, so there were a lot of like frats and sororities. But I mean, you could walk around like any day of the week and just hear music somewhere and just go to the house and see what was going on, kind of thing. Like
That's mad. How big was your school? Like, was it a big one, or like,
yeah, I'd say it's about like 42,000, I think. Like it's pretty big.
damn, that must have been mad. Did you ever like go to any like I don't know if there's any like close universities. Did you ever go to their parties and stuff?
Yeah, so like there was no one like too close, but so where like Corvallis was, it's like in the middle of Oregon, and then like probably about 45 minutes to like an hour north is Portland, and then about 40 minutes south was U of O, which was like the Ducks, like they're like the big football university. So like usually maybe like if you had free time, you would drive down to U of O, but and then once you turn 21 usually like you would have like you know you'd go and stay up in Portland like because it was like a big city kind of thing but it was kind of in that weird zone where like you didn't there was enough going on you didn't really need to like travel anywhere and honestly like a lot of like U of O kids would come up to Corvallis to party just because it was more like
Like, yeah,
condensed it was more, whereas like U of O was a bit spread out so it was kind of a bit you know we had the better nightlife than U of O I mean at least what I've been told but
what do you call it? Did your team have like initiation or anything?
oh yeah bro
Was it bad?
yeah it was good. It was nah, it wasn't terrible. It was like because we did a lot of like rules and stuff where you know obviously like we wouldn't get in trouble for it like stuff you know like with alcohol and you know if guys really did want to do it then they didn't have to do it but obviously like we made them do some other forfeit or whatever but I don't want to lift the lid on it because it is an Oregon State tradition you know like I might get some texts from ex teammates being like bro why are you telling secrets bro no
Nah,
just know that it was probably the most embarrassing thing I've had to do in my life. Um, and it felt like it lasted 2 hours, but no, it was good because then we had like a big party after and kind of everybody was chilled out. But yeah, no, we did all that mad stuff, bro.
nah, fair play. I wanted to see and test the waters what you were gonna say in it. But yeah, back to football. Did you ever like play PDL during your time there?
Yeah. So I played PDL, I'd say 3 out of the 4 years, and the first couple were with the Timbers,
Okay.
23s, and then I just played with Lane United, which was in Eugene, Oregon. Kind of, they were like a smaller PDL team, but yeah, usually because I would stay in the summer, like I would go home for a week and then I would come back just to kind of get that training because obviously a lot, you know, like Timbers kind of use their PDL as kind of like a scouting type thing for like pre-draft. Like they would have guys from all over the country come.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good. Like Timbers PDL was good, and got to go up at the training facility and stuff, and played with, again, like a lot of pros that have had good careers or are still playing, or stuff like that. So
That's mad. How was the? Did you guys train the same facility as the pro team, or did you guys have a different like complex?
no, so at the time when I was excuse me, when I was starting with the Timbers PDL, like Portland, it was the year after they had become an MLS team.
Okay.
So they were just kind of uh investing a lot into like training facility and like their stadium and the Timbers, because they're like a massive club now. Like they were kind of invest. So the year I went was my uh, freshman summer, and it was like they just finished the training facility up in Portland, but we trained up on the turf field. So they had like a grass, nice turf, and then they had like I wouldn't say crappy turf, but like one that they kind of just was like there, and that's the one we trained on. But we would be up there and train at the stadium and stuff like that, just because they had a lot of like staff from the first team that would get involved with the PDL, because at the time obviously there was no USL, so.
Uh, Damn, that's sick. What's I gonna say? Like, did any of like the first team coaches like personally like come down, or did you guys have any times where, let's say, you guys maybe might get to train like with the team or something?
Yeah. So because so that the first year I went, a majority of guys were kind of Northwest local guys. So like you had a few. I think it was the rule at the time is you could have max 5 from a university. So we had
Really?
like 5 guys. Yeah. Like it was like it was like you couldn't just kind of take a whole college team on, kind of thing. So I think we had like 5 guys from Oregon State. We had 5 from University of Portland. Like a bunch of guys from UW. They kind of kept it like few guys from Seattle and stuff. And then I remember we did really well that first year, and the Timbers, because the way they are, like they were invested kind of in like they were kind of ahead of the curve in terms of scouting for college players. And like the second year they got guys from like all over, because that's when Caleb Porter first went there. So he got like a bunch of guys from Akron to go, a bunch of guys from like Duke and Michigan State, East Coast colleges to kind of come over for the summer, and they put us up in like apartments and stuff in Portland. But yeah, like Caleb Porter would sometimes come and watch. They'd have like assistant coaches from the first team come down. Like they would sometimes watch and take part. And then like Merritt Paulson would come down and he would take some trainings sometime. I remember first training he took, I was wearing my earrings, and my boy Emery Welshman was also wearing his earrings. And he called us in and he was like, oh, like, all right, boys, this is what we're going to do today. And this was one of the sessions, because we trained every day. And then like, usually like one of the sessions, like they'd have like a bunch of first team staff watching because they want to see. And this was the session that like, it was the intense session that everybody came to watch. And like, he pointed at me, and like, I think the game before, like I scored a goal and like did pretty well. And obviously I was feeling myself, and I was wearing my earrings during training. And like, he pointed at me, he's like, you, what's your name? And I was like, oh, like, Will Seymore, like, and he goes, he's like, take your effing earrings out right now. And I just look, I was like, oh man, took them out. And I just look over at my boy, and he's got his earrings in, but he's like fake tying his shoes, taking his earrings out, and then like stands up, and I'm just the one getting yelled at. And like, I was like, what? Like, but no, it was good, man. It was good, like setup. Like they kind of tried to mimic like how they do it like in the UK with the progression, and you really got to earn your respect there, and stuff like that. But
That's good. How did you find? Because obviously it's like such a short time to kind of stamp like your thing. Because obviously you like you're coming in with a bunch of guys that you don't know, so you have to get used to playing with them, and it's only 3 months. So like, how did you get used to obviously playing with them and also like living with them in the apartments and stuff? That's a whole different.
yeah, like no, I mean like that's it. Like I said, it's tough, like because you're in that weird like part where like you're in college and you're maybe like a sophomore or like a junior or something, and you are still maybe as a player like trying to figure out where you're trying to be and end up and stuff, and then like bring in the mix with like a bunch of guys all over the country and like the best players from like all over the country. And they it's kind of like Big Brother, where they just put you in a house and then like you got to just kind of deal with it, kind of thing. So like You know, obviously like, you know, any place when you have like athletes and stuff that, you know, there were like fights and arguments and stuff, but it was good because, you know, when you went out to training, it was like everybody, it was just like everybody tooth and nail for a spot kind of thing to start. And then, you know, usually every week they would pick like 4 or 5 guys to go train with the first team a couple sessions. So like that was like the incentive, and it was kind of, you know, like, all right, like, you know, you're meeting good guys and you're meeting other players and stuff, but really it's like, all right, like it's like you said, it's only 3 months. Like I'm trying to get to that training session to play with like stuff like that. And but no, it was good. I mean, like, you know, guys, a lot of those guys like I played with, like I'm still really close friends with, like to this day. And they like Carlton Belmar, like Fatai Lashe, Kyrie Shelton, like Miguel, like just a lot of guys, man, that Saad Abdul Salam too. Like we all lived in a house together, and you know, it was a lot of fun and stuff. And but no, it was good. It was good because, like I said, it just really pushed each other to kind of want to get that spot to train with the first team and kind of get in front of Caleb Porter and stuff at the time. So
Yeah, that's sick, man. I remember like obviously doing that, and like I was at Seattle for 3 years, I think. And like it's such a weird setup because obviously you're there for a short period of time, but like there wasn't many people that came back each year. And like
yeah,
when I came in as a freshman, most of them were like seniors and stuff trying to get seen to leave. So when I came back each time, it was like weird that you'd have a bunch of new people, but like some people are the same. So, but it was
yeah.
a good experience, like you said.
I actually thought, I was like, all right, this is probably it. Like I think I did well enough here. Like I'm not like bluffing myself up or whatever. And they told me like, all right, they were like, all right, like we're gonna move you out the hotel, bring your suitcases with you to training. So I was like, all right, like thank God, you know, thinking like thank God. So I go to training, I train, I got my suitcase in the locker room. I have a meeting with the manager after, and he's like, yeah, like we're not gonna sign you. And I was like, oh, like, so that what they did, they just took my suitcases and they dropped me off at the airport, and I didn't have like a flight, I didn't have nothing. And I just was like, all right, like, and I just, bro,
Oh,
and that was like, yeah, I swear to God, bro, like, and like, and that point, that was like the lowest of the low for me. Like I was sitting in the airport and like I was too embarrassed to call my parents.